trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you. For the record, lab on me going all the way. For the record, ain't trying to link, no time to waste. For the record, for the record, for the record, for the record.
What up, what up, what up, what up? Welcome to the Homeland Daily, man, episode 70 right now. That's what we're at.
Yes, we're finally at 70. I feel like we did 69 for like
I know, right?
episodes.
I know, it's so weird. You saying that was all
it was wonderful. It was literally hilarious. Continue.
It was, man. Episode 70 right now of the Homeland Daily. My name is Dan Cameron. Let me just introduce the rest of the ladies and fellas right now. Give it up for Liz Charles. She is a filmmaker, entrepreneur. She's also a beautiful Caymanian Caribbean young lady. And Black, as you can see, Black is beautiful indeed. They ain't lying about that. And she's currently based in New York. We can't wait to have her back home here in the Cayman Islands. But right now, she is based in New York. Liz, how you doing?
I'm all right. I would be really great if CAYMAN Travel would respond to my email.
That was just a friendly reminder to anyone that Cayman Airways. Check your inbox. Did you get a reminder?
Cayman Airways responded. CAYMAN Travel. There's no longer travel time. Now it's Travel Cayman or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's Cayman Airways, right?
Huh?
I think that's Cayman Airways, right?
I don't know if Cayman Airways is doing it. Are they the ones who took over from Travel Time?
Yeah, so they're doing it now. So if you have any contacts in Cayman Airways, I'll hit them up right now. Give it up for singer-songwriter and producer, no stranger to the island. Give it up for Rico Rolando. What up, Rico?
What's up, guys? It's finally good to be all able to connect here on this amazing Tuesday afternoon, and I'm really thankful to be around you guys right now.
Absolutely, man. And my name, guys, listen, man. My name is just Dane. I changed it a lot. Dane Ramon, Dane Cameron. There's a story behind that.
Grandma Dane.
Yeah, no, that's gone. But yeah, Dane Cameron is basically me just accepting my identity. For those that don't know, I found out like 3 or 4 years ago that I had like 10, 11 brothers overseas. They all live in the United States. And my dad, which is my real dad, I met him for the first time 4 years ago. Wonderful guy. My mom would say differently, but he has changed over the years, and not a lot of people can say that they get to reunite with dads that stepped out. He didn't even really step out of my life, man. It was really no choice. But when I met him, I figured like, yo, this is my identity. This is who I am. But at the same time, I'm still trying to show respect to the Ramon because I love Kim Ramon, the guy that actually was my dad. And also there was an ex-man that was involved with my mom, which was Charles Ebanks. And I got to give props to them because not a lot of people step in to the shoes of a man to take care of a next child. So I got to show props to them. And I never done that before. And I never told that story. So the Homeland Daily is the first time I get to embrace that and kind of make you guys understand what the whole confusion of Cameron, is it Ramon? What is he doing here? Is the identity crisis? I'm not Puffy, not Diddy. Just trying to figure out some things here, guys. But yeah, welcome to the Homeland Daily. We got a jam-packed show for you guys. So we're not going to take too long on giving rants out. We're just going to jump right into right now the entertainment report. The here it is.
It's now time for your entertainment report. Hey.
So amazing that this is my life.
Exclusively on the Homeland Daily.
Let me apologize in advance. We're having a little bit of delay here with the show, so we will get things back up right very soon, but we don't know what's going on. But there's a delay when clicking these intros. All right, so forgive us. All right, let's jump to the entertainment report. Here is Liz to give you that today.
Yeah, so you guys, we found out that a collection of Caribbean countries have made an agreement with the EU, and they're getting some of the costs of the COVID tests covered. So 15% of the COVID costs or the COVID vaccine costs for CAYMAN, which is around about $80,000, a little over $80,000, is going to be covered by this pact. I think that it's actually wonderful to see them, like there being a coalition that's coming from a philanthropic means in order to cover some of the costs for COVID vaccinations. Governments everywhere have suffered. And so the fact that, Caribbean countries have this agreement with the EU to cover some of the costs for something that we know is going to benefit the entire world, I think is going to make a big difference. And some people might be like, oh, that's a small amount. It's only 10%. It's only 50% of how much it's going to cost in total. But every mickle makes a muckle. Like,
Really.
What do you guys think?
Rico, I'll make you jump on this one first.
I mean, I'm definitely super excited on what's to happen, especially coming from the Caribbean. I think that'll be very amazing. But my thoughts right now is on this oil tanker that's stuck in Trinidad. Like, that's my biggest thing right now. It's just like, if a hurricane goes through there, it's gonna be a disaster as to what happens. But I'm all for the COVID-19 updates and vaccine, and I'm just really hoping that it gets throughout the Caribbean and all over the world for everyone's health and safety.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm on board too. Like, I think we've been doing a really good job here so far. I'm not one of those that's been judging the government harshly with decisions they've been making recently. I'm actually literally on board. Did you guys read the story on how this whole COVID testing came into the island, like the whole background story on what took place? That was amazing. For those that haven't read it, like, go and take a look at the CAYMAN kind that took place during that whole. I'm on board for this, Liz. I'm definitely on board for this.
Yeah, it's great. What I found a little bit interesting about it was that, so it's covering the cost of the vaccine when it eventually comes. And the vaccine, they say, is going to cost around $10. And people need to do at least 2 rounds of vaccines. And I just think it's so interesting that we already have a price for something that isn't even developed as yet. Like, we still don't know when we're getting it. We don't know that it's coming, but we got a price. We got money going towards it. Having said that, we haven't gotten the check signed yet. The paperwork isn't signed yet. So I'm always hesitant until I see paperwork.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens, man. I'm definitely. I mean, would you guys take a vaccine if it arrives here on the island? Like, would you?
I'm not doing it first. At least for 6 months after the test and see what happens. Then I'll think about it. But if everyone else is like catching it around me, then I might have to pop the pill or inject or whatever.
Look at that sheep right
That was I agree. That was a little bit of
Rico, like, I'm gonna follow everybody else.
No way. Not on that.
That's what I thought you said, that you're gonna follow behind everybody. I'm like, nope. You go.
I mean, no, okay, here's the thing though. I'm gonna follow behind everyone else. Like, okay, what if everyone else around you has COVID? Are you gonna be like, I'm not taking this vaccine? Like, you're probably gonna take the vaccine, but I'm gonna wait. If no one in CAYMAN is getting COVID and everyone's taking the test for COVID and taking whatever they need to take, the medication for it, I'm gonna be at least 6 months.
I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I agree with you. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I don't know. I mean, there's no real right answer to this. I think it's kind of like it's on you, really. To be honest with you, there's no real answer. I think we got to respect each person's stats on it. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm really nervous about a vaccine so soon. And in all honesty, for me, where I feel like CAYMAN is in a good state, it's economically not feasible. But if it was feasible, I would want us to just stay closed for another 2 years. Or let the vaccine run like 2 years everywhere else. We see how it works out.
Yeah.
If there's no side effects or anything like that, and we open up our borders, and then we come back. impossible, but economically possible. But
Well, I mean, if all the billionaires would all rock up and try to help us little Caymanians out here, something would probably happen. You never know. I don't know.
We'll see what happens. What's next on the ER report?
Dane, I believe you have an image to show, and then we will get into it. So, you guys, have you heard about this scandal?
No.
With Catholic school?
Mm-mm. Give us the tea, baby. Give us the tea.
The whole board of Catholic school has been removed. The person who was in charge of the school has been removed, and they've instead put in a temporary advisory board. And the reason for this is because they were requested to do an audit, because Catholic school is supposed to be like they're like considered a church and educational thing, and so no taxes or anything like that. And but apparently they wanted to do an audit. There was supposed to be an audit done of the school, and there may have been some financial irregularities, and they didn't want to hand over their finances and stuff like that. People started resigning. People started like coming off of the board. And so now they have this new like advisory committee that's set to like examine the finances of the school. So I feel like where there's smoke, there's fire. I feel like people take advantage of situations often. I've like boards and stuff like that, when there's no oversight, people start doing fishy, shady stuff. And when the people who are supposed to be doing the oversight like aren't involved, but like, you a Catholic school, how you go? It's so wrong. How?
I don't know, but y'all know what they say about Catholic priests, right? So
let's not put that on Saint Ignatius. Okay?
Yeah, no, not on Saint Ignatius. No, God forbid.
Yeah, but I was like, this is so interesting that like, at least they're doing something about it. Like, at least they feel pressured enough to like have people quit and have people leave and like put in I can't speak tonight, you guys. Put it in an advisory board. But still, it's so disappointing to see.
I mean, that's kind of just crazy to me that a Catholic school, out of all places, is like going down for some shady shiest. I don't know. But I mean, again, when it comes down to money, people will do some crazy things for money. Even the most Christian or the most Catholic or the most goody two shoes people will do. So just watch your pockets.
I'm just gonna say this doesn't surprise me. My kids go to private school and they act for way too much. I'm not gonna be honest with you. First of all, we pay all this money per month to our kids' school, and all of a sudden you want us to spend them with money to do different things. Like I remember they want to do like a breakfast club, and they were like, "Yo, we're gonna charge for the breakfast club." I'm like, "No, we pay you already. What do you mean? Like you want us to pay for additional services, like for things that it's a great idea, but you got to pay for it." So everything feels like it comes with a price tag. And then you look around the school and you see like something. I'm just gonna be honest and bold. Like, hey, where's the money go? Because I see some things wrong here, man. Like, what's going on here? Where's this money going? Because if you times, 1,000 or 1,200 a month by kids are walking around the school, it doesn't make any sense to me. So this doesn't surprise me.
Like, you look around and you'll be like, doesn't the school look exactly the same as it did when I was in school? Like,
Rome. It looks like Rome still. Like.
I thought it looked like Cuba. That's
exactly. So it keeps going up. It's an issue. It's a problem. Education, like, for private schools, it needs to be more reasonable in general, especially when you have laws like, expats need to go to private schools and stuff like that. Those are still people sometimes who are helpers or whatever who need their kids to go to school, and it can cost $1 million for them to do so. Anyway.
Yeah. I agree. I agree, man. That was your ER report. Give it up for Liz. We are still waiting on some of our guests here. There's going to be two special guests that's going to be popping in the studio. I seem to have, guys, do I have like a mic problem? Is it just me or am I having a mic
I
problem?
think your volume. I think your volume is too high.
It's too high?
Yeah, I think you're just getting feedback.
How am I now?
Perfect.
All right, man. So yeah, so as we wait on our guests to make their way in, because we have two special guests that's going to be popping in the show. We actually have one that I've been waiting for a long time, and it seems like a lot of people have been waiting for her too, because you can't get her donuts here on the island. She's incredible, so we can't wait to have Brittany on. We also have CAYMAN Tyson that's going to be stopping by. We also want to send our sincere apologies on behalf of the Homeland Daily. Tonight was meant for the new Miss Cayman Islands, Mariah Tibbetts. But unfortunately, she was double booked. She had different schedule that she had to commit to, and she's actually busy this whole entire week. I'm happy to see the Miss Cayman Islands committee that is definitely keeping her busy, and she has a lot on the agenda. For those that don't know, I was very much always in support of Mariah Tibbetts. I thought that she stood a chance to win the title, and it looked like she actually did eventually. People might say differently, this didn't go the way it was supposed to, but this year didn't go the way it was supposed to. So, and a lot of people betted on Mariah Tibbetts. She was a people's choice. She was a people's choice award winner. So you know from your heart that she was actually supposed to be in this, right? So, but before I move on, while we wait on our guests to come in the studio, the question I would like to ask everyone is, there was a report by the CAYMAN Compass that was recently published that stated by in a certain amount of years that Cayman would reach the population 100,000. So I want to ask you guys the question: can we handle a population of 100,000? I think the first question: can we handle the population we have now?
Right. That's all
Let's start with Liz on this one, man.
I mean, I think this goes back to the conversation that we really wanted to have with Dr. Wadden, which is around, for whom are we growing, right? And if we're on track to grow to 100,000, I'm in New York right now, and technically there's been a mass exodus, which now is like rent prices lower than it's ever been. But like normally speaking, you get that kind of population density on a small island. Real estate prices are already high. Locals get pushed out of places, gentrification occurs, like all of those things become, urban development is a real thing that you have to start thinking about.
Yeah.
You also have to think about, as a filmmaker, for example, we look to incentives in different countries where they get us to come in, because the more people you have in a place spending money, the more stimulation the economy gets. And so you kind of have to weigh the social costs for the economic costs and see what weighs out.
Yeah. What about you, Rico?
I mean, at this point, like a bathroom stalls what's going to cost rent to use. If we get a mass population of 100,000 people, like, guys, the rent is already ridiculous. The cost of living Cayman is already ridiculous. If we get to 100,000 people, rent is gonna be literally like anyone else that has a job of like $15 per hour is probably gonna be living outside. Like it's gonna. I don't think we should really be striving for something like that. I get it. We need it for the economy and all that different things, but at the same time too, we've been able to last this long. I'm sure with maybe 80,000 max, I would say, is like what Cayman should be striving for. I think 100,000 is a big cap.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do you think, Dave?
I mean, I don't think we're handling the population that we have right now well. So I mean, I wouldn't put a cap on it, because I feel like we need to fix the problem that we have now. And people might say, "Dang, exactly what is that?" We don't have Caymanians in jobs right now. There's a lot of Caymanians out of jobs, and that could be because that's not a population issue. We just the economy suffering right now. But before it was even somewhat of an issue, our traffic congestion. Oh my goodness! If we don't figure that out, why are we aiming for 100,000? 100,000 people here on this island. And if we need to figure out the congestion with traffic. Like if I don't leave my house, by the way, I live in Miami, for those that know. But if I don't leave by 5 a.m., 5:30, if I get on the road exactly at 6, I will not reach to my kids' school until 7:30, 7:45. And that's like me leaving the house accidentally by 6 a.m. So that's like an hour and a half. That's like driving. That's on my way to Orlando, guys, from Miami, by the way. It just feels, I'm being dramatic here, but it feels that way.
No, I mean, that is intense, but that's the social cost. And then, we have people like the head of CAYMAN recruitment, Samar, I think. He was saying, CAYMAN at its highest population was also at its lowest unemployment level. The more Caymanians were employed, the more people we had, and they were anticipating that the more people we have, the more people will be employed, the more Caymanians will be employed. And that's possible, right? But we still have to think about what the quality of life might be at that point in time, right? And is there another way to do it? Because again, I'm just going to use New York as an example because they are comparable on the cost of living. But like in Cayman, it's very normal for you to like live with your parents and then go buy a house. That's pretty normal, right? In New York, it's very normal for you to move out and move into an apartment with 3 other people. You could be in your late 30s still living with roommates just because like, that's how expensive rent is. That like no one would bat an eye if you're like someone who's like, oh, I'm 38 and I live with roommates.
Yep.
They'd be like, that's normal. The rent is too high. Like, yeah, of course, that makes sense. And so what does that mean in terms of like the way that you navigate life the same way? You get married potentially at a later time, you have children at a later time. It changes your lifestyle in general, just from a cost perspective.
So true. So true. Guys, man, that was a great topic. We want you to continue to weigh in. It's easy. Just go ahead and send us a DM or express yourself on the comment. But right now, we're going to get ready to bring in our next guest to the show. Our first guest, we could say. She is no stranger to the island. I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all have been waiting on her for a while now. But the wait is always worth it. Give it up for Brittany Seymour. Should I say Chef Brittany Seymour? And Brittany, you know what I was most excited about? That the potential of you bringing donuts for us tonight. That was what I was.
Really?
I don't know. That
I'm
was
sorry,
work,
I don't have
man.
anything for you guys tonight.
That's okay, man. We're gonna continue to wait. Your wait list is doing amazing right now.
Yeah,
We just want to welcome you to the show.
thank you so much. And I just want to say hello to you all, and thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you. We're so grateful to have you with us. I just want to address the fact that we are experiencing a little bit of a lag, but we're going to push through and hopefully we'll be okay. So Brittany, you have done so much. I keep on seeing your face along with Tamisha's face, all of you ladies in white, just doing wonderful, wonderful things. Can you just tell those who are watching who don't know about your background and maybe don't know about your special donuts, but what you're doing and how you decided to get into being a chef?
Sure, absolutely. So again, my name is Chef Brittany Seymour, and I have been a chef now for the past 8 or so years. I'm a pastry chef, and when I first started, it was a little bit by accident, actually. It was a hobby, and then it kind of grew into something else, and I realized, I quite liked it. So I went down the road of trying to figure out how I could make it a career. I was doing something completely different at the time. I was studying engineering, and it just didn't feel right. So when I did finally decide, I told my parents, and they were very supportive, and it just kind of stemmed from there and just became this, I just began scratch. That was done in my free time. And it just really blew up when I had to leave my full-time job as a chef and then go and, just start this thing. So, yeah, that's basically how it started.
Wow, that's amazing. And how did you go from wanting to be an engineer to now being a chef? Like, what was that defining moment for you that said, this is something that I want to do for the rest of my life?
Honestly, it happened when I was on work experience. And I find that work experience for kids in school who are in their last couple of years is just so crucial, because then you kind of get to be immersed in that work culture and realize how things truly are in the workplace, and like, is this a good fit for me? So I was working at a local engineering firm, and I was just like, I can't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. And I'd always baked as a hobby. It just never occurred to me that it could be something that I could do as a career until it was like the whole, dilemma when they had cupcake wars and all that on Food Network, right? So that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So that was when all that happened. And that was just, the time when being a chef was just, it was much more celebrated than it was before. I think nowadays being a chef is looked at as more of kind of a glamorous job, but it is strenuous. It is a lot of work. But I find that kind of got me propelled into it, the creative aspect of things.
That's amazing. I know we have Dane back here now. I know he's trying to get his sound working and stuff like that. Dane, are you back with us now? You're good?
Yeah, man, we are good. It looks like we're performing well now. So, Brittany, thank you once again. I know we had some technical difficulties before, so it's a pleasure to have you on the show. One thing I've seen is that, especially here locally, Brittany, a lot of people tend not to feel like they're supported locally on their island. Like, they feel like they're loved more overseas, but they're a threat here on their island. And I've been to one of your pop-up shops at Ashley's Furniture. And I remember when I first drove in, I was like, wow, they got a lot of people buying furniture today, because the perception always tells you like they're not gonna support what Brittany put out there. And I just remember I saw this stretch of line, and I was like, wow, it was heartwarming, because I was like, we always complain that we don't get enough support. How did you figure you built this? How did you figure you built this relationship with people that they're gonna come wherever you are?
I will start by saying the support has been amazing, and I am just so humbled by, just the people who have just followed along on my journey, and not just my journey, but other chefs like me, and other businesses of like. But I want to say that ultimately it all boils down to the importance of social media and putting yourself out there. I think that's just kind of where it started. And once people realize the face behind the name, that's where support kind of comes along. People, see what you're doing, and ultimately that's, kind of what happened for me. Saw what I was doing, and realized the work that I put in behind it, and have kind of, there've been a lot of people who have started with me from the beginning of things, so throughout the years, and they've seen how the business has evolved. And with the pop-ups, like you said, we've had so many people, and honestly, that word of mouth and that support, people are just buzzing. I mean, it's just crazy how, like I said, social media just has come such a long way, and you can connect with so many people. So I think that's kind of where it's come in, because I've really done no marketing besides that. It's just been word of mouth, just people having those conversations and really just being really supportive. And yeah, that's basically how it's kind of grown to what it's become.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there's a saying that good marketing is the best way to ruin a bad business. Like, if it wasn't good, like if you marketed it, it'd be terrible. So there's something to it in the fact that you've done no marketing and people are showing up because it's good. So I'd like to know, you talked a little bit about the people who've supported you from the beginning. And Tamisha talks a lot about, what it's like to be a woman and be a chef, and we've had her on the show. How do you feel about female representation in your profession on the island? And do you feel like it's improving, or what do you feel like the change has been in the last 8 years that you've seen?
Within the past 8 years, I want to say that there's definitely much more of a female presence in the kitchen here in Cayman. It is still very male dominated, and I'm sure this is probably something she touched on because we do share the same views. I don't know if you guys have really touched on women in white with her, if she went over that. Basically, he, myself, and Chef Jessica Moore of Taste This Life are all part of a organization called Women in White. And basically, that is, we tried to get more local female chefs into the kitchen. Basically, we want to create the grounds for them to feel welcome and to feel like they, belong as females, like I said, with it being a very male-dominated industry. And that's just kind of setting the ground for them to, whether they want to, go off to school, whether it's, to be here and, just maybe do an internship. So basically, that's kind of what we're around for. But I will say that since we started it, we have had quite a few young ladies approach us and be like, hey, I really love to cook, but I don't know how to get into it. How did you guys start? What can I do to get my foot in the door? So I will say that there has definitely been more of a buzz, and more young ladies are, feeling like, hey, maybe there is an opportunity for me. And, I see that getting to a point of where, it won't be so much of a, oh my goodness, she's the only female in the kitchen. Whereas, it'll be the norm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as a Cayman, and I've always been told, this is where we start off, in the kitchen. So it's really nice to see that people are finally getting back to their roots, and it's no longer a stigma. I remember a couple years ago when I first started off, I had a past schoolmate of mine. I made a cake for his mom, and I went to go drop it off. And it's so interesting what she said to me. She's like, "Oh, this is what you're doing now?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, you were always so smart. I thought you were going to do something else." I was like, "Oh my goodness, really?" Yeah. So I think that's the reason why a lot of women, not just women, but a lot of young people haven't maybe gone down the path of going into the kitchen. But that is all changing, like I said,
Yeah, most definitely. And hopefully they'll see you more times in the bank than they see you less times with an black job, right? So tell her you can meet her there. But what I would actually want to say is that, how is it? What's it like being an entrepreneur? Some people may just see the glamorous side and may just say, "Oh well, Brittany, she's just a chef. All she does is bake, and then she collects a whole bunch of money at the end of the month." What is the most stressful parts of being an entrepreneur for you?
The most stressful part of being an entrepreneur is not meeting my own standards. I have very high standards for myself, and I think that a lot of entrepreneurs will say the same thing. And it's very difficult when I know that maybe I think I could have done better that day. My boyfriend will actually attest to this. I'll be like, babe, the dough wasn't what I thought it was going to be today. Yeah, but they look great. No, they don't. I feel like I could do better. So I feel like for me as an entrepreneur, that is the most trying part. And then of course, not being able to get to all the things that I would like to get to, because there's only one of you. You only have two hands, right? So I think that's really the most frustrating thing. But dealing with people, definitely seeing them smile when you get their pastries over to them is really nice. So that makes things a lot better.
Yeah. I know. I mean, you just mentioned standards, and I mean, I think you do a really good job of your standards because you're always A plus. It's always getting better. I love your social media experience. Like going on your social media just makes you feel like you're experiencing something different when it comes to donuts. It's almost like you cannot get what you do anywhere else. And so that's one standard out of the way. And of course, secondly, I don't know if anybody's ever tried to book with Brittany, but if she doesn't, it doesn't matter how well you know her, you're not going to get it if you book late. And if you're last minute like me, it's just not going to. And Brittany teased me about this all the time because I'm like, she has trained me to be very on the ball. Like, hey, if you're going to book me, you got to do this in advance.
You're much better now, Dean.
Yeah, I'm getting better, except for booking you this today. But what I want to ask you, Brittany, is what's next for Scratch? Because I know a lot of people are looking forward to the future for you. So what's next, especially after the pandemic?
It is branching out. I know I've been singing the same song for years now. Oh my gosh. But it's definitely getting ourselves a space and being able to have people come in and actually, come and say, hey, I can get a donut whenever I want. I can get this whenever I want, right? So that is ultimately the next step for us. As to when that is going to happen, I'm not sure. But sometime next year, I hope. Before the whole thing with the pandemic, we were really working on getting into a space. And I think it was kind of God at work, actually, because when it happened, something else happened. It was a collaborative space, basically, that we were trying to get into. This was around March of this year. And someone else who was supposed to be basically sharing the rent for the space pulled out. And so we would have been in a real predicament if it had gone through. But right now, yeah. So right now we are still working on a brick and mortar, and that is definitely the next step, branching out.
Awesome.
I think it's wonderful that God held you down so that you were not in that situation.
Yeah.
Thankfully. And I would just like to offer up our services as a donut addict myself. For whenever you do that opening, we would love to cover it. I'm just going to throw it out there. This is dead serious because, like, that limited would like go the full year. By the end of the year, I'd be my fittest self, like the most fit of myself. 2 weeks later, just all the donuts, all of them.
Oh my gosh.
But, one of the things that I find interesting is that given, in industries where there are few women, there are few marginalized people, there tends to be a dynamic where people try to pit each other against each other. And I have loved seeing the way that you CAYMAN women chefs have like come together and supported each other and been so positive. Did you ever feel a level of competition about being, one of few, like there should only be one of you, or there could only be enough space, for one type of female chef? And how did you deal with that if you did experience that, or did you kind of always believe in collaboration?
I have always believed in collaboration. And to be honest, there's always something to be learned from somebody else. Because ultimately, Women in White was Jessica's baby. And then, she shared the idea with a few other chefs and Tamisha and I, and, the other chefs decided not to go forward. But, we said, you know what, we kind of have the same thought going on here, the same thought process. So for myself, I've always had that. But I have faced some different situations where some other female chefs, and it's been predominantly female chefs who have had this issue with. And, I think a lot of them feel threatened when, someone new comes on the scene and, maybe they've been around for a while, right? But, I always say the same thing. My dad has always taught me as well, if someone feels threatened by you and you see that they're maybe, doing the same thing that you're doing, then you may be doing something right? You're doing something right. So in terms of the competition and just people not really playing too well together, that's always going to exist. But I think that's slowly melting away as people start to realize the benefits of being collaborative, and maybe learning something from each other, and of course calling upon another person in the event that you do need help, right? And that's what I with the ladies of Women in White, I think that we've definitely realize that with our friendship, both in the chef world and as actual friends. There's another friend actually that I've become really close with. She's the owner of Brookie's Cookies. And we've definitely meshed. And it's nice to be able to call somebody at the end of the day and share your frustrations. The baking frustrations. But like I said, it is out there, and I think it's just because people can kind of misconstrue things, and they look at you and feel intimidated.
Most definitely. And you'll probably have that in every type of different job description. Sorry. But one of my other questions is that with Scratch, you guys have so much different flavors of donuts, and they're just so unique to their own. Has there ever been any sort of customer request for like any strange sort of flavors that you've ever had to do? That's the first question. And the second question is, have you ever gotten up in the middle of the night and just said, I really want to pair these two together to make this epic donut?
The answer to the first question, any funny flavor pairings? Not really, but we did come up with something. And I'll mention my boyfriend quite a bit because, we've been together quite a long time. He's definitely part of this brainchild. But he's mentioned doing a Russian roulette pack of donuts. So basically having a bunch of jelly-filled donuts and then having one of them like with some scotch on it, like pepper jelly. So it'd be nice to have like a function where one person gets it right, and then obviously, it's kind of like a game type thing. But in terms of order requesting anything, no, not yet. I will say that, not yet. And then of course, the next question. Remind me of the next question.
Have you ever gotten up in the middle of the night and just said, you know what, I really want to pair these two flavors together and see what happens?
No, that hasn't happened. But I will get up in the middle of the night and make notes. I'll write on sticky notes. I will write in my phone. I'll type things out because if I know if I don't, I will forget it. So it's not so much getting up in the middle of the night because I know there are other people sleeping. So I can't really get up and do. But I do get up very early anyway. Sometimes I'm up from about 2 or 3 o'clock to start.
Wow.
So yeah, the life of a baker. But no, not so much to do anything. But I will get that itch every once in a while if there's an idea I want to do. And I will block everything else. So people will be like, oh, do you want to do this? No, I need to get home and do this. I need to just do this until I get it right. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Brittany, man, you led me into my next question because we're kind of getting ready to wrap up. So we're going to do final thoughts very soon. But you led me in because you said you've been with your boyfriend a long time. I mean, a long time is not good to use for somebody that cooks like you, because I would have popped that question a long time ago. So that's not really a question. That's for me to let him know, hey, let's go, bro. Let's get that question very soon. So we're going to do that. But what I really want to ask you, and this is a question for all men. Believe it or not, I got this on the WhatsApp. Somebody's like, yo, ask Brittany this. Do you think that in today's age, like in 2020, that women, and please do not attack me, was a question from a guy, that 2020 women have lost their edge in the kitchen? Like there's a lot of women out there that are not cooking anymore. It's not a part of the criteria. Matter of fact, if men bring it up, they're like, hey, how dare you? Like there's going to be a march against that if men bring that up. But it's, you remember back in the days that women were powerful in the kitchen. And it seems not now you're meeting people like women, and And it's almost like you're watching them as the months go by and the years go by and be like, hey, do you cook? Do you are we gonna order let's eat the whole time?
Oh.
So I want to ask you, man, do you think that that's something that's happening lately in the kitchen with women?
Honestly, I'm guilty of it. I will say from experience, I love to cook. And I will make it a point to cook a meal, for both of us to have, my boyfriend and I, when I mean both of us, as much as I possibly can. Like over the quarantine, I was cooking every day. But I will say that it's difficult, for women. You're rearing kids, you work a full-time job, things are really busy, and a full-time job these days is literally, I mean, my gosh, you're working as much as 14-hour days, So where I do think that women aren't in the kitchen as much anymore, I think that it's warranted because there's just so much going on, both female and male side, there's just so much going on. I mean, look at the traffic. You mentioned the traffic earlier. There's just so much to do. And not only that, I do feel like picking up a meal on the way home is so much easier. And sometimes it works out to be cheaper than buying all the ingredients to make one meal, especially if you're living alone or with two people. I find that especially here in Cayman, the prices of ingredients are so inflated. Where we do have good products, I feel like they're very inflated. And, just down to a carton of milk. I remember when I went to the school in the States, we would have smaller portions that were for people who either lived alone or, lived with another person. So the packaging was smaller, but now just down to the salad, you have to buy, a big thing of salad and it goes bad within 3-4 days.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings me, to the conclusion of, I do think so, but it is warranted. I think that, it's just impossible for some people to get into the kitchen, some women to get in the kitchen every day. It's just one of those things. We all want to cook for you, but sometimes we can't,
Let me just
Don't say we all want to cook for you. Not everyone wants to cook for you.
What's that?
let me just add, man, because I see somebody's messaging me on the side right here. But that wasn't a comment from my wife. My wife does cook, and she's really good at it. So I was literally asking a question for a guy. So I'm so sorry, but that was a brilliant answer, Brittany, because I really do believe in today's society, women are stepping it up, man. Like women are showing that they can do like pretty much anything a man can be a success in, and they're taking jobs over and they're doing an excellent job, which just means they're working more hours, right? So that might be what the change is.
Brittany, it really was a wonderful and diplomatic answer, and I really appreciated your giving it. So my question to you, and we are getting to final thoughts. So I would just want to ask you really quickly, as an entrepreneur, I know that I find it a little bit difficult sometimes carving out time for life and I feel like COVID helped to realign that a little bit for everyone, right? That like there are other things that are important other than just trying to work and make your business happen.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel like you have managed to create some type of balance between your baby that is your work and scratch and the other areas of your life?
It has been so hard. Honestly, it changes from day to day. And I know you can say this as well, because like you said, it's difficult. Not just being a woman, but just being anybody as an entrepreneur, finding that balance. Especially when, maybe you work by yourself or, you have a small team. It just always boils down to you always have to have the answers. You have to be in 10 places at once. And for me, like I said, it's been on occasion, I've missed many family functions. There have been weekends where I just couldn't be able to do anything, with my family or my significant other. And fortunately for me, I have those people in my life and they understand. But of course, I
Mm.
always find that I feel really guilty because I'm like, oh my gosh, how do they feel about this? I can't do this, I can't do that. And so you really try to make up for it in different ways. And I find that a lot of entrepreneurs will say this. And, I'm still very early into it. I've only had the business now for about 9 years, but it is difficult. And it's one of those things where it's touch and go. Every day is different. At one point, it had gotten to the point of where my health was at risk, and stress, anxiety, you definitely can burn yourself out.
Mhm.
And ultimately what kind of causes that is when you have the notion that you want to please everybody. And unfortunately, that's one of the things you learn over the time, that it goes by, that you cannot please everyone. And there has to be a
Mhm.
point at which you say, I'm human. I need this time for myself, for whoever it is around me, in order to recoup. And like you said, COVID and the quarantine and everything slowed things down so much. It was honestly a blessing in disguise. Many people have said that. For myself, I say that I know so many people have lost so much, and it's been different things for different people. But for me, myself, just the break, just to slow down, it was what I needed. Um, and it's just mental health, physical health. I try to, put that forward a lot. While I do work a lot, it needs to be done in proportion. It needs to be done in proportion to how you're feeling. That mental health, that physical health,
Yeah.
is really important. But it's hard sometimes. Definitely is. There's always that guilt, and fortunately for me, I don't have any kids yet. So hopefully by that time, I'll be able to, hand the baby over to somebody else, maybe 60% of the time, and so that I can focus on family. But
Yeah.
it is difficult. You
Mhm.
think about the way forward and getting older and possibly, spending your life with someone else and welcoming kids. And you're like, oh my gosh, how do I do all of that? And this,
Straight up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. So good. I love that. I know we're coming close. Rico, do you have like a final question you want to ask before we get to final thoughts? No. So Brittany, man, this was a really, really good interview. We love you so much for being a part of the show. We love everything you're doing. We just want to kind of get like final thoughts from you for a young girl right now that's listening, and she's saying to herself, "Man, I want to be a chef. I want to be that superhero right there." Like, what are the steps that do you think they gotta have to take in order to reach there in 30 seconds or 40 seconds and less?
sure. One thing I can say is to soak up as much as you possibly can from your local environment.
Mm.
Even if it's going to help out at a restaurant or a hotel on the weekends without pay. That is
Mm,
ultimately where I got my start. Just getting that, and of course, coming to the Women in White. We have an email, we have a website, www.womeninwhite.com, and you can come and speak with us, and we're more than welcome to give you the information that you need in order to propel you forward. Because at this moment, I think that there's nothing more than feeling like you're alone in something, and we can try and get you answer the questions you need answered. But like I said, definitely getting that experience, and we can help with that. I think that's one of the most important things.
I love it. I love it, man. And Liz, Brittany, thank you so much. That was a really good answer. Liz, just your final thoughts before we end the show.
Yeah. My final thought is thank you, Brittany, so much. I think you are wonderful and such a great voice for young entrepreneurs to hear from. And so I think that your story of someone saying, "Oh, she's so smart," and why is she doing that? remember to never underestimate what someone else is doing. Because you often don't know what that thing that you think is less valuable goes into. Like, you don't know the hard work, you don't know the thought, you might not understand that baking is chemistry plus art. Like, so I would just say to have respect for others and just appreciate the value that others provide.
Love that, man. And Rico.
I mean, my final thoughts is just honestly thanking Brittany for coming through to, tell us a little bit more about Scratch and what they offer. And I'm just super excited for young Caymanian entrepreneurs that are just honestly doing their own thing, not letting anyone stop them and not really having those boundaries. So it's definitely been a pleasure to have Brittany here. And I'm just super excited to what she has coming for the future, for sure.
Yeah, man, there's so many crucial things that was mentioned by Brittany. I think a lot of gems that were mentioned. It's not too many things that we can add into. I think as we continue to do shows like this, we just continue to sit back and we listen to people like Brittany.
Yep.
To see how they got their start. But the one thing I'm realizing, guys, I don't know if you're realizing the same thing from all entrepreneurs that came on, was that we just took the chance and they moved. They moved on the idea. And I think that's what the biggest struggle is in our society today, is that we have to remember, hey, I always find a way to bring God in, right? In the Bible, God said, this is good. That's the only thing he said. He didn't say this is perfect. He didn't say this is fantastic. He said this is good. He said humans are good. He said this world is good. So I just got to remind you guys that don't overthink things. It is good. Like, just start. Like, if you're going to start the influence business, if you're going to start the filming business, if you're going to start your own chef business, just realize that whatever you do, just be good at it. That's all God expects from you. And the rest will come. The rest will come eventually, man. So, Brittany, thank you so much. We appreciate you. We can't wait to have you on. And hey, my birthday weekend is coming up, and you already promised me some treats. So I can't wait. See you soon, Brittany. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Bye.
Guys, that was so exciting to have her on. That was a great show. I think a lot of gems were dropped. We know we had some technical difficulties, and I always like to apologize for that. It happens with technology, but we're always just trying to work to improve the sound, the quality of the Homeland Daily. If there's something that you want to see, something you want to hear, or maybe a voice that you want to be on, just hit us up on the DM. And don't forget, all our platforms are open: Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. You can visit us on there to recap the show, share it with a friend, because somebody needs to hear the message tonight. Right, guys?
Yes, Pastor.
Yes, man.
I'm gonna see if I can get this to work now. I'm gonna see if I can.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you. For the record, lab on me, gon'